For breakfast, quinoa makes a delicious alternative to oatmeal. This quinoa breakfast porridge is actually one of my favorite things, and my husband, who's always a bit of a health food hater, loves it, which is, you know, stamp of approval. So you can do it two ways. You can either make it with raw quinoa and cook it from scratch, or, which is what I do, I use quinoa that I already have on hand that I've cooked. So we have here about a cup and a half of cooked quinoa. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with some milk, which I have here, and some water. I'm probably going to put less water in because this is already cooked. Now, the secret ingredient to these is cardamom pods. Cardamom is an Indian spice, and these little pods are put into milk desserts to infuse them with a really light, spicy flavor. I mean, it's really delicious, and it's perfect for something like this. And then also something a little bit more traditional, a little bit of ground cinnamon. Now, right at the end, we're going to add some frozen blueberries. Now, these actually are frozen from fresh, and you can check the website for how to do that in the bag and freeze section. Now, we're also going to add some banana. Now, the thing about the quinoa is for breakfast cereal is that it has a lot of protein. It's got a lot more protein in it than oatmeal does, and the protein is complete. That means you don't have to eat anything else with it to balance it out. You're also going to get protein from the milk that we're going to be putting in there. And the banana obviously will bring potassium with it, so it's all good. Now, you see this apple hanging around here. The reason it's here is because you can dice the apple up or grate it into this, just, you know, for another fruit. You can, you know, these are kind of almost a suggestion. You know, the basic are the honey, the cinnamon, the milk, and the quinoa, but then you can add whatever fruit you like, whatever's in season, or whatever frozen fruit. You could put raspberries in there if you wanted to, or frozen strawberries. I like blueberries because they're, you know, they're very strong in antioxidants, and it's good. But anyway, let's get to the stove, and you'll see how quick and easy this really is to do. Okay, because I'm using the cooked quinoa, I'm going to start off by heating up the milk with three of these cardamom pods. Okay, I'm going to turn it on. And I'm going to turn it on to kind of medium. Actually, I'm going to turn it on high to bring it to the boil, and then I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to put in a little bit of water, but not too much. And the honey. Now, you can put in as much or as little honey as you like. Now, the reason I'm putting in the cardamom pods right now is just to give it a little chance to infuse. Then I'm going to put, before I put in the quinoa and the rest of the ingredients. Now, because this is a very fast cooker, I can see that this is beginning to get hot very quickly. And I have to be careful with milk because it will just boil over, as I expect a lot of you have experienced. Soak up the moisture, yes. And you can see how the top of the milk is now just kind of shaking a little bit. So we can put a little pinch of salt in there too. Right. I'm going to put in now the quinoa, because the milk is just starting to, can you see around the edges? It's just starting to boil. Now, I'm not going to add the water because we already have, the quinoa's already been cooked, but if you are cooking this from scratch, you want to put the water in too. Now, it's going to let this come to the boil, then I'm going to put the cinnamon on top. And what will happen is that the milk will evaporate, and you'll get a kind of a porridgey consistency. Now it's coming to the boil. I'm just going to turn the heat down to low, and then just let it cook gently. Now, meanwhile, I'm just going to cut the banana. Because we're not going to use all of this, we're just going to use half. I'm just going to literally leave it in its skin. Now, a bit of a dent in it. Now, you can cut it into slices, but I'm afraid for this kind of thing, I like to dice it. Now, you can cut it just a regular slice, but I actually, for things like oatmeal or this kind of quinoa porridge, I think this is kind of nice, so it mixes in better. All right, let's go and see how the quinoa is doing. It's going to need a minute, but then it's getting there. You know, you can Think about this looking a bit like cream of wheat, and it's not dissimilar, but it's got so many more nutrients than cream of wheat. This is a whole grain we're putting in here. It's got all of the nutritional properties of brown rice and then some, because it has this complete protein that makes quinoa such a great grain to incorporate into your cooking. Now, it's getting thick, as you can see, so I'm going to now put in the cinnamon. Now again, you can do this to taste. I would probably, you can put less or more. I usually put less in mine, but then I'm a little bit less of a cinnamon fan than a lot of people are. You see how now that's getting all nice and thick? If you are going to put apple in, I'd put it in at this point now, just so that the apple can soften up a little bit. Now, I'm going to turn this all the way down again and just stir in the banana. See how thick it's got? All the milk has gone away into the quinoa and into the thing. I'm going to put in the blueberries. Now blueberries, only going to leave these in a short time, because they actually can make it go quite a nasty color, because they tend to make things go a little bit grey. Now, with frozen fruit, you do not need to cook it for a long time. So I'm going to, these are almost done already. Okay, so I think now what we'll do is I'm just going to turn the heat off. And that is your quinoa porridge.